Getting hydrated.
Yeah, I can't have any lip smacking shit going on like you guys.
So Hayley,
Hi.
what's going on?
And I just drove for 2 hours for this and you gave me coffee that burnt my tongue.
Oh, man. So, really, I wanted to get you on because I think you're kind of a chick version of me. Like, you do a lot of shit.
I think I could agree with that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, you do heaps of shit, and you're like, you seem to be quite community orientated.
Yes.
And you seem to like building people up,
Yeah.
which I like. Especially even just women in the industry, I think can find it quite difficult. And I think you help a lot with that.
Yeah. I think it's a little intimidating when you first get into this industry in general, whether you're a guy or a girl. But there's definitely more, I don't know, maybe guys are just more confident, because I would say that the majority of Ruth and I's community is definitely women. Like, it's a lot of women that come to us for mentoring. There are some guys that definitely comment. There's some guys that come to the co-working day, but it is mostly women that are in there.
Yeah, I think guys just have more ego, like naturally. Do you know what I mean? Like unjustified ego.
Is it bad if I agree?
No, it's true. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Where I think women kind of are a bit more modest about it, even if they're better.
Yeah.
Like I had Kat shoot for me the other day. You know Kat, like Greg and Kat?
Yes.
And she doesn't think she's very good, but she's probably one of the best second shooters I ever had.
I know, right? I've had Kat shoot for me too. Like, she's amazing and she's really professional and she's really good with people. And yeah.
Yeah, but it's a common theme that you hear that a lot. Well, you don't hear that from guys. They're just like, yeah, I'm good.
And sometimes they're not.
And they're often not.
They're not.
Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. But yeah.
I think guys just struggle with modesty a lot. But yeah, I mean, I just want first just tell us about like who you are, like a brief overview. I think you called it an elevator pitch on your own podcast.
Oh, did you listen to that episode? Did
did.
you? That was fun.
It was good.
Yeah.
Brad's a good dude.
Brad is a good dude.
So yeah, just tell us about like, you know, I know you started in Whangarei and then now you live in Waikato and like, you know, you were doing weddings and you still do weddings, but now you have this whole education thing going on. So I just want to know about that.
Okay. I started my business in Whangarei in Northland, and that's a much smaller community to Waikato. We came down here, what was the first year of COVID?
2020.
2020. That year, I moved down here. I opened my studio the April we went into lockdown in New Zealand.
Oh,
so I
shit.
didn't open my studio, but I was meant to.
But you had a lease.
Yeah, I had a lease. I had that commercial lease, and I was just sitting there being like, yeah, I'm paying for something I'm not using at all during that time. But
Yeah.
that was
Scary.
just probably like a bumpier transition to a new region. So I moved my whole business down here, and it was predominantly weddings, but it did feature families and portraits before I shifted to Waikato. And then once I was down here and I had that studio space, it became portraits, commercial and weddings quite substantially. Like, it's a bit half and half for where my business comes from.
Yeah.
And then with that, I met Ruth in person, properly, for coffee. And we were like,
in 2020.
I think it was 2021, 2020.
You both came to Down to Photo, right?
Yes, yeah. Okay. And we just grabbed coffee and then we chatted and we were like, shit, we really like lifting each other up and we like lifting other people up and all that kind of stuff. And that's where that educational brand came from. But both Ruth and I had our own mentoring businesses aside from that anyway. But we just combined them and made, it doesn't have to be this hard.
Yeah. It's a pretty fancy community in terms of like, fancy is probably the wrong word, but you're really good at like design.
Oh, thanks. Canva is my best friend.
I've never used it. I'm not creative like that, but you're like branding and stuff like that. I assume you do like coaching with branding and stuff as well. Yeah.
Basically anything that anybody wants to learn or know, and if it's outside of something we would be an expert or be able to educate on, we'd send them to somebody else. But there's a lot of things that within the business that come into marketing and websites and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of photographers' websites are built.
you have built.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that makes sense. But going back, so you were always doing portraits and stuff as well as
like
weddings?
families and things like that the whole way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into photography though? Like, were you always doing it, or were you just, like, how did that start for you?
I don't know, 2013, I bought a camera and I was
Yeah.
like, this is fun. I like doing this. I always had an interest in art and stuff like that, but I actually studied to be a writer. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I didn't finish that. And then I was like, camera, take pictures. This is a bit of fun. Photograph some family and friends. Got offered to photograph or got asked to photograph a friend of a friend's wedding. I did it. I cried so much afterwards. I was like, this is the worst experience of my life. It's so stressful. I'm never doing it again. And then I kept doing it in 2017. I went full time. I was like, bye insurance job.
Yeah.
Now I do this.
Wow. Did you make kind of like a conscious decision to not leave weddings, but like do less weddings and more studio stuff?
I think there is a path that we go on in our businesses, and you're looking at, like, you guys were actually talking about this, I think it was yesterday with Justin, where you're going to go when you're like 40 to 50 years old with what you're going to shoot. So there is a conscious decision making in my business plan where I'm not there yet, but in like 10 years, I'll probably not be shooting weddings quite the same level that I am now. So making sure that I have a business or a part of my business that's just going to take over that income and become more. So that's going to be commercials and portraits, because I think I can confidently continue doing that without going and watching people get drunk every Saturday night at a wedding and feel quite happy and fulfilled in that business. Whereas with weddings, I feel like once I become like 40, 45, that's like 10, 15 years away, but I might not like it quite so much.
You said 10, 15 years away?
I'm only 32.
Wow.
I'm a baby.
I'm so old.
Yeah. No.
Classic.
Yeah. So I definitely made a decision when COVID came around, and we, like, a lot of us lost a lot of our weddings or didn't have as many inquiries and things like that, where I was still shooting like 25 weddings as opposed to sort of 35. And for you, like, you shoot so many more than I do, but I don't want to actually leave the house that often. So I wanted to create a business that was sustainable.
Yeah.
In a way that gave me the life I wanted to have, not just like a minimum wage earning, where I could shoot less, earn more from them, and also have that kind of business plan to take me over to here, where I no longer have to always do weddings.
Right.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
And then when did you decide to get into the like education thing?
People just kept messaging me and asking me questions, and I was like, I don't actually have time to answer these all for free anymore. So here are my rates to do mentoring if you want to actually sit down and really invest in your business. And people were like, yes. And I was like, well, okay then.
Yeah.
So that was probably maybe the year before I moved down to Waikato, so 2019-ish.
Okay. And you do them in person at your
I do them in
studio?
person, or I do them via Zoom, because I have a lot of people that are around the country.
Yeah.
And I usually only take on a few individuals for one-on-one stuff throughout the year, but I will do, like, it's more like they're coming to me once a month, or they're coming to me every 6 months or every year, depending on where they're at in their journey, and then there's the odd like stuff in between that. But because Ruth and I are both so busy with our own lives and with the things that we actually want to spend our time on, we just turned our, like, the mentoring knowledge that we're constantly giving to people is the same a lot of the time. We just turned it into online courses.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So there's our website, you go to that, you can buy those courses for the people that cannot afford to, one, have the time to do this, or have the money to come and spend with us one-on-one.
Yeah, and is that like video content?
Yeah.
Nice. And you film all that yourself?
Yes.
This is what I'm talking about. Because you never did video before, right?
Nah.
When did you start doing video?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but back probably like 2015-ish, Ross, my partner, actually used to shoot my weddings with me. as a second shooter, and we used to do a lot of weddings together, and we had a few inquiries where people were like, oh, I'd love if you could video our wedding as well. So we toyed with that then, and we did a few just for free for people that inquired with us, being like, hey, we have no idea whether we're going to do a good job of this, but you've asked, so we can do a little like 2-minute highlight film with it. So that was when we started toying with the idea of having highlight films and video and stuff in it as well. And I probably only started actually doing video with my wedding packages probably like maybe the time that Chris Turner was in the group saying everyone should add video on. So maybe like about the same time I went to Waikato, I guess. I can't tell you a year on that one, but yeah.
No, that's cool. And have you found it a struggle? What do you shoot on? Canon?
No.
Are you Sony now, eh?
Yes, because this person named Chris Turner was like, everyone should move to Sony.
He's such a loudmouth.
Oh, I know, right? And like you talked it up so much, and then I changed over from Canon to Sony, and I was like, fuck Chris Turner.
Do you love it now?
Oh, I love it now, yeah. But I did go from Zooms to Prime, so when I switched over to Sony, it was the A7-3s at that time. And I went from shooting 24 to 70 and 70 to 200 to using a 55 and an 85 predominantly.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a transition.
Yeah.
But now I love it. And if I pick up a Zoom, I'm like, this is disgusting.
You're on A7 IVs now?
No.
A7 what? Actually, we'll talk about that in a minute.
R3.
Before we do that,
Ooh.
like where did you get most of your inspiration from?
So many different people. I honestly feel like the biggest growth that I've had in my business has been since joining communities or making my own communities when I didn't find one that suited the purposes that I wanted it for.
Yeah.
So I did. I made a group on Facebook.
I'll put a link to that in the description if you like.
That's now our education group. But I don't know if you know this, but Sarah had that co-working space in Whangarei for a while there. I was one of the first co-working people in that space.
Right, okay.
And that was a really awesome place to just bounce ideas. So me and Sarah spent a lot of time in that space, probably not being very productive in our businesses, but on our businesses, heck yes. Like we work alongside people like that.
Bouncing ideas off each other and stuff like that.
And I'm constantly talking to people every single day about business because I'm probably a lot like you and I'm like, I can't stop and I love it and I get excited and I'm just like, and that's why I probably have lots of people that I talk to because they're all like busy in their own lives and I'm like, talk to me about work.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's how you get far, if you can like harness the energy. You know, a lot of people, you either kind of have a lot of energy like this and everything just falls to shit because you can't like deal with it. And like, because I do a lot of stuff that no one ever sees, you know, and like it just never finishes.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can harness into something like your weddings or your education or whatever, it can be pretty powerful, I think.
Yeah. I'm like this person that if I stick something out to the world and I say I'm going to do it, I have to do it because there's this little tiny child in me that's like, if somebody sees me fail at something, then that's not okay. I'm not okay with that. So if I've said I'm going to get a studio, then I'm going to fucking go and get a studio and I'm going to make it work because I've got to succeed at it because, that's just who I am from my traumatic childhood upbringings. But
it's funny actually. I didn't know that, but a lot of people, same with me. A lot of people that are quite successful now have had pretty rough upbringings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Justin the other day. It's I think it comes from a place of not wanting to go through that again or something like that. You know, I don't know.
We just became really strong people. Yeah. With like massive drive.
Yeah, I think it's something to be said about being uncomfortable is a good thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the shit I've done that I've been really proud of started with me being very uncomfortable.
I don't think you can grow without being uncomfortable.
No.
You have to push yourself past the line where you say I'm comfortable to I'm not comfortable to I'm fucking terrified and I'm going to make this happen anyway. And I probably live in that zone.
Yeah, no, it's about making a decision that you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Not rather than I'm going to try.
Yeah.
Like when I said, you know, when I was talking about this with Justin, I didn't say, oh, I'm gonna try and do this. I was like, I'm going to be a full-time wedding photographer. And then you just make it happen.
Yeah.
And like you fail heaps of like little failures along the way and stuff like that. But I think it's just part of it. And as long as you're learning from the mistakes, like you want to try not to make mistakes.
We all make mistakes.
Totally.
Like that's
you don't want to
human
make
nature.
mistakes, but it's just part of it. And like the less you can make, the better. But if you make a mistake and you turn it into a lesson, then it's not really a mistake.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah. So as far as inspiration goes, it's more for you. It's more like community. You didn't have someone that you like really.
No. And like I've been listening to your recent episodes and everyone's like, oh, this amazing artistic photographer. And I'm like, I have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really followed a lot of big, amazing photographers. And the only times I guess I've ever been introduced to people where people like this person's amazing is down to photo and stuff like that when we've had speakers at them. And I've been like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Like I've not had that kind of influence into my work. It's more been about learning together as a community with the people that are probably at a very similar level to me or just above me at the time.
Yeah.
And that like I didn't have a mentor or anything like that. And I did feel really intimidated when I started. Like, I don't know if I've actually ever said this to Rachel Jordan, but I remember being in Kerry and being like, Jess Burgess and Rachel Jordan, they're amazing. And they were one of the top wedding photographers in Northland at that time. And there wasn't very many because it is quite a small community up there that I was too afraid to go and talk to them.
Yeah.
Too afraid to send them a message. And that was, again, part of the reason that we made our community, or that I made the community that I had prior to joining it with Ruth. But because there's so many people out there that were in a similar boat of being scared to go up to somebody that was perceived as being really professional, as perceived as being really successful, and saying, hey, I would love to learn from you. I'd love to have coffee with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are complete beginners in there. There are people that are transitioning from being a hobbyist photographer to getting paid for their work to people who have been in the industry for 10 or 15 years. So it is a very big, what is the word? Like a vast group of people, of different people from different places.
Yeah, big spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, which we need.
Yeah.
I think. I'm going to send people to your group.
Everyone should go join it. It is also different genres too.
Yeah, a lot more studio stuff and like portrait stuff. Where there's really none of that in collective. It's just weddings. Yeah, cool. I'll put a link in the description to that, and like your workshops and stuff like that. Your website. I'll put all that in the description.
Yeah, it's really pretty. I spent some time on it.
It is. It's really nice. I looked at it when I was doing some Haley research.
Oh, did you do Haley research?
I was like, shit, this looks real nice. And then I was like, you definitely have a thing for design.
Yeah.
I think you have an eye for design and like color and stuff like that, which I think would be great when people want coaching. Like I do coaching as well, but I don't advertise it. I've never even, I'm just like, if people message me, I'm like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I don't do like branding stuff because I'm just not good at it, So I think if people were like really fresh into the industry, and especially people that are like really fresh into the industry, but like have an eye for it and they like have some gear and they like want to start a business, you'd be pretty much a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
I reckon.
The other people we work really closely with are people that want to add on portrait genres to their wedding businesses but aren't sure where to start or how to price it or how to get over the idea that it's not a wedding and therefore it has value of its own and it shouldn't just be like $100 for 50 photos. So making that side of their business make money as well. Yeah,
pricing is a really complicated thing.
Oh, it's so complicated.
Especially with commercial work. But yeah, I think, because really the coaching I do is just like, it's mostly pros that are like stuck.
Yeah.
And they can't like move forward or whatever. I deal a lot with that. I do talk to a lot of people that are getting into it, but it's just because of the YouTube channel. People message me and whatever, and I try and help as much as I can. But yeah, I think your community is really good for that.
Thanks.
I think it's powerful.
We think so too.
So quick thing before we move on to the next subject.
Oh, okay.
What's in your camera bag?
What's in my camera bag?
Yeah, this is Haley's segment.
But my camera bag is like, we were just comparing our Pelican Air cases and mine's like, I don't know, like 2 times bigger than yours is.
Yeah.
Sony
People love to hear about it.
A7R3s that I've had since Chris told me to change to Sony. 55mm. Zeiss, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I got that one.
That was inspired by Ethan because he kept talking about that in the group.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ethan. I love that lens. 85mm G Master, 135mm G Master, 24mm G Master, which I'll really only bring out to do like 2 photos ever and then put back in the box because I hate it. And then there's 4 camera bodies in my camera kit because I do photo and video at the wedding. So some tripods.
All A7R3s?
One of them is a non-R version.
Okay.
The one before.
Yeah, A7 III.
That was my third one that I just got as like a backup, and then I ended up with 4 of them anyway, but one's just a little different, a little bit more baby than the other one.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, there's a little light thing that goes on top, and there's some flashes or speed lights, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Other stuff.
Okay.
Battery case holders from David recently. They're great.
Battery. Oh, those
the little
3D printed things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm keen to get some of those. I was going to buy a 3D printer because I found that pattern online.
I like them. They're actually very cool.
Yeah. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to buy a 3D printer and make these. And then he did it in a group. I was like, sweet, I don't have to buy a printer. Yeah, they're really amazing.
Yeah, very tidy.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite piece of kit?
Oh, I honestly would just use my camera body and my 55mm pretty much 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is like portraits, families, everything is that one lens. All my headshots are done on that one lens.
Yeah.
I will bring out my 85mm at a wedding, and I'll bring out the 135mm and the 24mm very rarely at a wedding, like if I'm far away at the ceremony, but 55mm.
Yeah, the 55mm was the first lens I bought when I switched to Sony.
Yeah.
But I was on A7R2s. They're like 1 memory card slot. I know that's your favourite topic.
Don't even. Just let's not go there. Let's not.
Yeah. Sweet. So that's what's in your camera bag. We've gone over your education stuff and your podcast. Why did you decide to do that?
The podcast.
Do you find it's helpful, like supporting your brand as well?
It definitely sends people to our group.
Yeah.
And it, in the side of like, let's look at it marketing wise, it's a really great avenue of evergreen advertising, or marketing. It's constantly available. People are constantly going to be finding it. Like your YouTube videos, people are going to be finding those a year later or 2 years later or 3 years later. It's always going to be out there.
Yeah.
So it's something that's constantly available and then feeds back into your other places or into this, like it feeds to you, vice versa.
But yeah, no, it's a cool podcast.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for everything that we do. Like there are going to be things that we give back, and I work very closely with a lot of people when they're first starting out, and they'll come into my studio and hang out and shadow me for a day, and they're not getting charged to do that. It's not a mentoring session. They get to come and watch and everything for free, and that's me giving back without the expectation I'm going to receive anything in return. Because I'm often not. Like those people are going to go off and they're going to use that knowledge that I've given them to make money for themselves.
Yeah.
And that is giving. And then there is things like your podcast where you might not get a monetary return from it, and it is really giving. Our one is still sending people to our courses, so there is that side of it as well. But the whole ethos of what we're doing is to lift our industry up, because we want to see people succeed and actually make money from their own businesses. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like I've had a lot of people ask me, because I do the presets and all that kind of stuff and like helping other people out, and people are like, oh, you're worried about competition and like, like your editing style being out there, and because a lot of people use them. And
I use them.
Yeah. And, because they're great, they work well. But like I noticed when I was developing them, I was like, got heaps of people to send files from all different cameras. And when I was editing them, I was like, sure, the colors look similar, but they did not look like my photos.
No, they're always going to look different. My work doesn't look like your work just because I use your preset. And we all make changes to it as well. It's like a very nice base to use, but it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, but that's what it's designed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a really clean base that you can like modify and put your own taste on it. And like accurate colors. I hate presets that like change the colors of suits and shit.
Don't get me started.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah, their suits were a colour because they chose them to be that colour. I don't think we have the right to decide that they should be green instead.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But your comment on like competition, anytime you do any sort of mentoring, if you put your presets out there, if you do something like this, somebody coming on this can potentially have a worry that they spill like this amazing secret about their business and what they do. That's their unique selling point, or however you want to word it. I don't think that anyone else applying those things is going to suddenly be you, because our businesses are so built around us as people, us and our personalities, and those referral bases that we create when we're at a wedding or we're at a job. So,
yeah, no, people will hire us because of the experience. I think a lot of, like, when we did those, did you listen to the podcast about the stats?
Yes.
And like 8 out of those 9 bookings in that time period were referrals.
Yeah. That was really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
It was cool to see, because a lot of the people that were just like on your website, they didn't necessarily, like, when people ghost you, a lot of the time they're doing that because of price, or they're doing it because of price and the fact that they have no personal connection to you. They haven't experienced you at a wedding. They don't know a friend who's been photographed by you or something like that. And that can be the turning point between whether you're too expensive or whether they value you enough to have you.
Yeah, and I have been thinking about that a lot, and I've decided, I haven't done it yet, but I've decided that I'm going to have, because I naturally have the YouTube channel and on camera a lot anyway, I have this plan to put a lot of video content on my website about me.
Yeah.
So people can kind of get that personality across a little bit. But yeah, I think, going back to the competition thing, what I was thinking was, I think I've had more work from helping other photographers than anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people sharing work, and like maybe, like I've shot a lot of photographer weddings because people are just into it. I don't know. Like I think you just need to not worry about competition. Like I think you get more out of it when you're like trying to help other people and trying to help the community out and like just build everybody else up. You just naturally, you just get more work anyway.
Yeah. That and those networks that you're creating, those people are going to send you referrals all the time. Like you're going to constantly be growing your own client base because of the relationships you're building with other people.
Yeah.
The other thing is the time that you spend worrying about what XYZ is doing down the road, or their prices, or the fact that they might copy you or they might imitate one of your photos, is time you could be spending on building your own business up, or on networking with your own people, or I don't know, something that you've been putting off for a while. Instead, you're spending it being upset about somebody else that isn't going to affect you at all.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. Yeah. Really, especially when it comes to pricing. You can't be pricing yourself compared to everybody else. It doesn't work.
We shouldn't get into a pricing conversation.
Well, I think you're really good at it, so I think you should comment on it.
What? We should be pricing based on our own. I am sorry, Chris. I've stepped too far away from the microphone. We should be pricing based on the life that we dream of having, not on what we see Chris Turner down the road charging or whoever down the road charging. It should be based on some math, really.
Yeah.
Not on how
many you want to shoot and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, literally like looking at, okay, how much money do I want to earn per year? How many shoots or how many wedding jobs can I realistically do in that time frame without overbooking myself, without making mistakes, without giving subpar service, with having enough time to have the life that I'm dreaming of having, and then dividing that by the total turnover that you wanted to have. There's your price. That's your average sale goal. That's what you should be going and trying to build a price list around.
Yeah.
There is some free mentoring for everybody. That is in our course.
Hot tips from Haley.
Yeah.
It rhymes and everything. It must be good.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Did you ever have any struggles, like any really bad challenges like really hard challenges that you had to kind of like get over?
Oh.
You must have hit some walls at some point.
I want to, everybody asked me, how did you go full-time in wedding photography? And I literally just said, okay, I want to do this. I work in insurance. It's a 9 till, I think I did like 8 till 6 o'clock every day. And I said I wanted to do it. And I just said, I'm going to accept every single booking in. Who gives a shit whether or not I can get annual leave approved? If I have that many bookings that I cannot go to my day job because I need to go to my weddings, I'll just quit. And I did the marketing and I did the things I needed to do for that, like having the nice website and replying to everybody who inquired. And I got the bookings and I had 35 weddings and I was like, bye, here's my resignation. Like, it wasn't super hard for me because I don't have that personality where I second guess myself a lot. I will just do shit and make the mistakes and learn from them. And I know that there are so many people out there that are really terrified to leave their jobs, or they're really terrified to not have that support of the I don't know, like the secure income and things like that. And there are instances where that is a really terrifying thing because maybe you have kids, or maybe you have a mortgage, or maybe you've got massive debt and you really need to have that. But I do think that there is also a place for being able to push through that and saying, what is the worst that can happen to me?
Yeah.
What is the worst? I sleep in my car for a night? I didn't. Like, I was fine. But, like, is that really that bad if you're a single person and it's not, I stay at my boyfriend's for a couple of months while I get my business sorted? Like, you're not going to die from taking the risk of getting out there and doing this thing that you say so often you want to do.
Yeah.
And I can't sit here and say that I didn't have struggles. Like, I absolutely did. I just moved past them. Like, I had a massive, massive relationship breakup while starting my business that was devastating, and I had to move and had to move towns. And, like, it was really, really hard and really emotional. I had an upbringing where the idea of working and actually earning money, like earning a substantial amount of money to live off, wasn't something that was a driving force in the encouragement that I received. So didn't have that whole, like, go to university, make an amazing business out of your life, or have an amazing career, or any of those kind of drivers that drove me to make decisions to have this business. And we had, like, a family member who passed away from cancer in the middle of a wedding season. Like, it hasn't been that easy. I can't just sit here and say, like, I did the thing and it was great. There were challenges, don't get me wrong. But if you say you want it and you really want it, you will actively do the things to make it happen.
Yeah.
If you make excuses and you sit there in that land of I'm afraid or I don't want to be uncomfortable, you're not going to make it happen because you're never putting yourself out there to do it.
I think it comes down to accountability. Where I'm at now, I can look back and everything I failed at in the past, I can pretty much say that, you know, if you like boil it down and like get to why it didn't work, it was because of me. It wasn't because of anybody else, you know what I mean? And I think that's fine. Like, it really, it just comes down to the fact that if you want to do something, you can do it. And the only reason you won't do it is because of yourself.
Yes.
That's it. It's the end of story.
There are a lot of intricacies. That's not even how you say that word. There's a lot of
That's
things.
good England.
I love my England.
Yeah.
I do this on my own podcast all the time, and I'm like, sorry guys, don't care.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it in there. There's a lot of parts to that. That's a much easier word to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's all well and good for us to sit here and say we did the thing and we got it done and we just like decided we want to do it. But there is so much more to that conversation, and a massive part of that is mindset. Like, we have a course on mindset, and it's such a big conversation that our course barely encompasses half of it. But that's where having a mentor comes in. That's where having a really good community comes in. Having people to talk to often that are constantly lifting you up, instead of saying, "Oh, I think that price is too much." You are. My mum said that to me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I have a story about that.
There are always going to be people in your life that are going to say, I don't think you should do that. I think it's a bit too risky.
Yeah.
And it's like turning those voices off and saying, you know what, I want this, and your opinion and your blocks and your own, what you believe to be true is your story you're telling you.
Yeah.
This is a story I'm telling myself. I can do this. I'm going to do it. I did it.
I get to the stage where I have so much shit I want to do, and I have so much on my mind, and I have so much going on in my head that I can't concentrate on a single thing.
Yeah.
And you just kind of have to, like, step back and have a break. You know, I've had that recently, and I'm just not going to do any work for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And I just like rode my motorbike around. I went for a hike in the forest.
Yeah.
You know, and I was sweet, but you have to step back, and because I'm really shit with organizing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I have a lot of apps that control my life. You know?
I have people that control my life and apps that control my life.
Yeah, same with my accountants. You know, they control my business, but like, I still ignore them and get in trouble sometimes, you know. But that's just the lessons on not what to do. But I thought, you know, when we were talking about doing this podcast.
Yeah, what did you envision for this podcast? Have we like...
I think that's pretty much it.
Hit the nail on the head.
I think it's going well. There's nothing I've been like, fuck, I got to cut that out. Like me and Justin's conversation.
Oh, really? Oh,
Jesus.
okay.
And you were saying, you asked me if you could take this audio and use some of it for your own podcast. And I was like, sure. And so I thought I'd turn it around on you and be like...
Do it.
Maybe if you have anything that you'd like to flip back on me that you can use for yourself, or I think it would still be helpful for everybody. So,
okay, Chris.
I'm putting you on the spot.
The Chris Turner. You know what you actually mentioned? Well, I think of a question to ask you. You mentioned that Queenstown workshop that you run. I found an email from you the other day because I inquired about that, and then I chickened out and I didn't want to go because I was too shy and too scared.
Be ashamed of yourself.
I'm actually like, I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm just like, I'm so confident. This is my jam. But in social situations, I am so intimidated. I remember going to Down to Photo the first year and just being so afraid that I wouldn't fit in. Like, I've always struggled with being in bigger groups and stuff like that. And that I can fake it till I make it at a wedding. Like, I will talk to the guests and I'm in my zone and I'm there as a professional. So I put my professional hat on and I'm like super social. However, put me with my peers and be like, yeah, go free. I'll be like, I will gravitate towards a small group of people or one-on-one situations as opposed to big groups of people. So how do you handle putting yourself out there as someone who I already know you're a self-proclaimed introvert-ish?
YouTube has helped me.
Yeah.
Like, I started doing YouTube because I was just terrible on camera. You know, I'd been asked already to like speak at like schools and stuff, and like, you know, like photography schools, and
that's pretty cool though.
But I'm like, I can't do this. I don't even like humans. Like, how am I going to talk to people? And doing the YouTube channel helped me. I'm still not that social. Like, I go to some of the social events, but I guess it's different with work. It's different. Like when I'm at a wedding and I have my camera, it's very different. Do
you feel like suddenly you're in your element and therefore you can be a more confident person? Yeah,
like I know I'm good at it.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to do a good job.
Yeah.
I know exactly what's going to happen. And I think that just comes from experience. Like I said the other day, I've done probably 500 something weddings now. And like...
So many more than my like 200 and something that I stopped counting at.
Yeah, but you just turn up and, you know, I go to a wedding now. I don't care what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to do a good job. I can adapt to whatever. And I think just having that confidence and knowing that when, you know, that I'm in my element and I'm going to make this day better than it would have been if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's just confidence inspiring for myself. But if I was at a wedding, like, I'd probably be a terrible MC because I don't think I'd have the confidence.
No, I reckon you could do it. I reckon you could. I reckon I could make a good MC.
You'd be a good MC.
Yeah. But I'd literally be shaking on my way up there and it would take me like 10 minutes to walk in. I remember talking it down to Photo and just being like to Sarah and to Sheena afterwards, being like, how awkward was I? Because I could feel that I wasn't myself. Like, it was terrifying. And I think that kind of speaks to you and what you were saying about you were terrible on camera and therefore you went and did this YouTube channel which pushed you out of your comfort zone and made you confident in front of the camera.
Yeah, like when I look back at those first videos, I cringe. They're quite bad. But like that was the process that I had to take to like get to where I am now.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, being uncomfortable. And I was like, you know, the thought of like, I remember editing those first videos thinking, fuck, this is so bad.
If anyone takes anything from this episode, it's to fucking do the thing, be uncomfortable, make the mistakes, and just put it out there and do it, right? Like, that's kind of exactly what we did. That's what I've done with everything, because just you got to do it. You got to feel uncomfortable to grow from that, to get better at that.
Yeah.
And you said, I remember you saying this, that your shitty videos on YouTube are still out there. Not to call them shitty. I'm sure they're amazing. I'm sure they're really beautiful. I'm sure they've got like amazing lighting situations.
No.
Our shitty first season of podcasts is out there, and I'm not taking them down. And the audio is like all over the place. So.
But yeah, that's my answer to that question, Hayley, on your podcast.
Yes, on my podcast, on your podcast.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, though. Okay, so I am kind of thinking about this at the moment. Like, I remember when I first started 10-ish years ago, and that's probably not as long as you, but kind of there would be people who had been in the industry for 10 years at that time or 15 years at that time, and they were having conversations around all the new people that were coming out and taking all the bookings. Do you feel now that we have been in it for 10, 15, how many years have you been in this industry for?
Yeah, I mean, I shot my first wedding like 15 years ago, but I've only been full-time for, I don't even know, 6, 7 years, maybe full-time wedding photographer.
What year did you go full-time?
I'll have to look back. I'll tell you.
Okay, that'd be good to know.
I'll find it.
2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. This many years.
Something like that.
Yeah, the 6 for me. So looking at our businesses now and looking at all these younger photographers and that are starting very young, like early 20s, are going out and shooting full day weddings and charging quite a bit of money for them. Do you feel, especially somebody that has like no real trendy branding, like our website's not mine right now because mine looks really trendy at the moment, but like I've always admired the fact that yours has got like a white background, like your website is very simple, but it's the photos and the videos that speak, and I had definitely followed a similar trend with my own work. Don't go look at it right now because it's got pink buttons. But do you feel that we no longer keep up with the new trendy people that are coming out because now they have access to Canva? They're making these beautiful PDFs. They're really trendy branding. Like everyone's got really cool logos. It's not just like one type of font and then a different font underneath it and it says Hayley Adele Photography forever. Like, and you've got access to a lot more online education that you potentially didn't have when we started. Are we going to get pushed out, or do we need to become more trendy to keep up, or do we, when do we start to phase out and be looked at like the old photographers that don't take cool pictures anymore or don't have cool branding?
Yeah. I'm not concerned about it.
You're not concerned?
No, but I think it's a funny business because I've seen a lot of young people come in. A lot of people don't have the persistence to do it, so they'll come and go. You know, there's a lot of people that just come in and they're like, do it for a year, and, you know, they find that they can't carry it on, so they just quit.
Yeah.
The ones that do carry on, I'm like, good for you, like keep doing it, you know what I mean? Like do everything you can. But in terms of us, I think it's kind of irrelevant. It's important. It is important to like keep up with trends.
Yeah, like do we need to refresh our branding because suddenly the branding that is perceived as really cool for like, especially because you look at the weddings now, like 10 years ago, like farm bunting, barn style weddings were really cool. And now it's all about these really bright, beautiful colors, and we're getting really insanely
lots
beautifully
of pink weddings and stuff.
Styled weddings. And there is this really like cool trends that are happening at the moment. Do our wedding brands also need to keep up with what is trendy, like what they're putting on their like invitations and stationery and all that kind of stuff? Like, do we need to be more cool?
I think it's important to keep fresh, but I think by the nature of it, you know, because you're shooting these weddings that are new and fresh and you're showing that work, you're kind of naturally going that way anyway.
Yeah, but I guess the work you're showing is going that way, but not the branding per se. Like there are a lot of people that like make really beautiful wedding PDFs, and I know you've just changed to have your pricing off your website again.
Yeah, but I don't use PDFs.
Oh, you don't?
No, do you know why?
Did you just send a quote?
No.
No?
I have it on my website.
Oh,
it's like a hidden
private
link
page. Yeah.
And I do that because do you do PDFs?
No, God no. It's on my website.
Yeah, so the reason I don't do So the reason I don't do PDFs is because you can't just like change your pricing whenever you want. If you do that, you're just going to have all sorts of shit out there in the world, and like
you have 5 different PDFs, and
totally. Whereas
the pricing's different in all of them.
Yeah, and I can just change it online, and it changes for everybody. I guess I'm not great at branding to begin with, so I don't really know how to like you would be better at that than me, but. Yeah, no, the short answer is I do think it's important to keep up with the trends. Same reason I was telling people to get into video. Because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. Yeah. And being left behind in this business is going to be a problem.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at here is like, and specifically towards like the branding side of things, because there is an awful lot of very, very trendy stuff. Like you see all the, I don't know, they're like the, what do you call those carousel posts and like all of that kind of
I
stuff
just started
is happening.
doing those.
Oh, you just fell into it.
I just answered your question, actually.
Yeah, look, you are keeping up with
I
all
am
of the
trying.
trendy shit.
And it feels very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but I'm trying anyway.
But we're all about being uncomfortable, so you
Yeah.
should continue with that journey.
Yeah, no, actually, that's a good point. That answers your question. I'm just doing it. I just don't know I'm doing it.
Yeah. So we're already being influenced by what's currently popular.
Yuck.
Yuck. No, I think that we do need to, though. Like, I've been talking about this recently a bit with people I talk to regularly. Like, am I going to suddenly get left behind because I've been in it so long? And when you've been in it so long, you start, I think, maybe you start to focus on other parts of your business as opposed to the really cool, exciting branding and new website refresh and that kind of stuff that people do when they first get into it, and they look really professional and cool and on point for what's currently popular, but maybe they're not necessarily as experienced as the people who are like, we've been doing this so long, I want to go out with my friends on the weekend instead of working on my website till midnight.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think one thing is with websites, like my website, like you said, it's basic as.
It's not that basic.
No, but I like it like that. I like not having a lot of because it's funny you talk about this because I looked at your website.
My website's massive.
There's a lot of shit on your website.
It's
There's a lot of
big.
information.
People love it though. Like that's
Yeah.
a big compliment I get. So
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think having a lot of information, like I've added a lot more after recently looking at other people's websites and stuff. Like I never had that like fact
Yeah.
section.
oh yeah.
That wasn't even on there. It was just
Yeah.
like, here's some photos, here's a contact page.
Get in touch with me if you want to.
Yeah, so it's a lot different. You know, all my pricing was on there and everything, so it's a lot different than it used to be. But I think it's super important. You have to have a really solid website that people come to and it looks professional.
Yeah.
Because it's all good having referrals and like a good, like if you can have a really epic social media with like 500 amazing photos on there, and then you have a link to your website and it just goes to this like Wix.com.
Hey, do
branded-
not diss the Wix website.
No, but like not even a paid one.
Oh, yeah,
It's got like wix.christurner.com, whatever. Like you got to have something professional that people land on. Otherwise, they're going to see your photos and get to this and be like, they're going to second guess it.
Yeah.
You
They're
know?
not going to see you as being as professional that they want to hand over this much money or that much
No.
money. Like you've got a very distinct opportunity. Don't know if that's the right word, but you've got an opportunity to, one, with the information on the website, say, hey, this is who I am before you've even inquired with me. This is everything I can do for you, or not, and just leave it for them to look at pretty pictures and get in touch. And you've got an opportunity to either be like, I'm a professional, or I don't really care if you give me any money because I've still got the Wix ads at the bottom or the Pixie Set ads or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think all that stuff is really important at the start. Like, I think it's different for people like us now because I could probably just book my seasons out from referrals.
Yeah.
But that will stop eventually. But like the more you shoot, the more you get.
Yeah. I couldn't, like if I was still in Northland, if I'd stayed in Northland the whole time, I would say I'd be at a similar boat where I could just book everything based on referrals because I'd have that referral base still. But because I am still quite new in Waikato and it is a much bigger region and I've got Bay of Plenty and a little bit of Auckland and the Waikato, I don't think I exist there enough.
Yeah.
Whereas I had that benefit of I went to high school and I'm at the age of the people that are getting married in Northland.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with Justin the other day.
Yeah.
Like I'm 40 this year and like...
You guys made me start thinking about what I'm going to do, like how close that age is for me. When it's like, am I going to be too old to photograph weddings?
Let me tell you,
would I want to?
It sneaks up
Okay.
real fast.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not 40 in my brain.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I look 40. I have kids that are teenagers, and my couples are getting younger. Well, they're not. I'm getting older, but you know what I mean. I don't know. It's just you. Like I was saying to Justin, there's a certain amount of cool that you have to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even when we were talking about referrals and stuff, going back to that, they still go through my website.
Yes.
When I get social media inquiries, they still come through my website. Like I don't know about you. I think a lot more people get inquiries on actual social media, like I never get, like, it's very rare that I'll get someone message me on Instagram being like, are you free on this date? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
They've seen me on Instagram and it comes to my website. So either way you look at it, you still have to have a really solid website.
Yeah. There's definitely some people out there that run their business without having a website. I don't think I could do it. And also because I work with genres aside from weddings. So we spent a lot of time this episode talking about weddings, but I shoot headshots. I shoot commercial businesses and things like that. If I didn't have a website, one, they wouldn't even find me, or if they did have a referral to get in touch with me, they're not going to pay me money, because it's like saying, you don't need the photos I take for you, the headshots to put on your website, because I don't even have a website. Therefore, I don't believe in this product.
Yeah, that's a good point. You might have heard me say it, but I've never liked when, like, if you're a wedding photographer and then you have like wedding, on your wedding page, you have like weddings, commercial, portraits, whatever, aerial shots, you have all these different genres on one website. And I think specifically for weddings, you're going to challenge me on this.
Maybe not. Let's see. Go.
I think a lot of brides and grooms and, just people getting married, they want to look at a website and see just weddings.
Oh yeah, I see where this conversation's going.
They don't want to. They don't want to go to your website, they don't want to go to your website looking for a wedding photographer and seeing that you also do all this other shit. Even if you do it, I think a lot of people just want to see weddings.
Okay, so this is a conversation around, do we separate the different genres that we shoot from one another? Basically.
But I think all the, like commercial branding, headshots, real estate photography, I think all that shit can be in one website.
Yes, they're related, right?
Yeah. And like weddings and families would be as far as I'd go. Like, I just added families back to my website because I thought I'd just start doing them again. I stopped doing them completely. And that's about as far as I'd go. But I'm no expert in marketing. But I do think that brides and grooms and people getting married just want to see
what
weddings.
They're wanting. Well, okay.
What do you think,
What
Kaylee?
do I think? Okay, so anybody who's going anywhere, like, we consume so much shit every single day, and I'm not a marketing expert either. I just have one that works for me that I talk to a lot. But from all the conversations I've had and all of the years of doing this, I would say myself as a shopper, if I'm going to buy something, I want to be able to find that information with the least resistance to get there. Like, I don't want to use my brain power that I barely have any left of after my hard day at work or whatever it is to go through 5 different pages on somebody's website to find the one product I'm after. So I get what you're saying. Do we need to have 3 different websites or 2 different websites for the different genres that we shoot? Maybe. It depends whether you have a website that has the new trendy wedding branding stuff that you can do these days, which is all very cool and whatnot, because that's not going to speak to your commercial clients, and therefore you would really want to have those 2 different websites because they're not going to go nicely together. If you've got a website like Chris with lots of white backgrounds and it's pretty simplistic.
You're saying I'm out of fashion?
No, my website's pretty white background too, but sometimes I've got grey blocks every here and there. Yeah. But like, if you've got a website like ours that is, it's not specifically branded to be weddings. It's just kind of like a blank canvas that we've put our pretty
like,
pictures on.
I'm a photographer, I take photos.
Yeah. With like bigger excited words that say that. But you can just have in the menu up the top, you can have those different clicking buttons that take them to the places they wanted to go. And my website's quite combined at the moment. I did have 2 websites at one point. I had one for the studio and one for my wedding, family, couple stuff. The amount of headshots I take for businesses who then want me to take family photos for the people that I've shot the headshot for, though, is like incredible. So they do really go hand in hand in a way for referrals. You don't necessarily want to have them on the same website. I wouldn't have them on the same Instagram. Like, my headshots do not mix in with my wedding photos, because the person who finds me on Instagram or refers to my Instagram because they want to see that I'm actually in business and that I do shoot and that my photos are pretty and they want to whatever, have a look at them. They don't want to scroll through heaps of headshots or heaps of like maternity photos while they're looking for a wedding photo. So you'd niche the social media down.
Yeah.
Website, it really depends like the landing page is probably the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
My landing page definitely speaks to weddings. It's a wedding banner. It's wedding, like...
And you only have the one website?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the moment, yeah. I did have two. Probably wasn't the time in my business to have two because you've got to direct traffic to both.
Yeah.
And that can be a little bit, like, harder.
Your website does have a lot of information on it, but it's made really well. Like, it's not hard to find.
Nah, because it's like weddings and then everything for weddings is
Yeah.
a drop down which takes you to it. It's portraits. It's all
Yeah.
under that same one. You're not hunting for anything.
Yeah. No, I think what I'm saying is it's like I could be completely wrong, and I'm cool with that. But I
I don't think you're wrong.
people, I think when it's and I'm just talking about weddings. Like I said,
Yeah.
everything else combine it. But I think with weddings, it's such a big day for them, and they're investing so much money, and it's like they want to know that you specialize in weddings,
Yeah.
and that like. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that's the same for any genre. Like, if you look at my website at the moment, I've got portraits, and that encompasses anything I do in the studio other than headshots, because headshots is very easy to drive traffic to that part of my website. But if I separated out maternity from, like, my family portraits, I would most likely get more of either of those genres than having them combined, because people are getting the information that they want to see is diluted with other crap. It's like
Yeah.
when you give a gallery with heaps of hero shots and then lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of mixed in crappy edited photos that don't necessarily do anything, the overall experience for the client is diluted.
Yeah, no, you have to have consistency.
Yeah.
In your editing. If your editing styles change, you need to change your whole fucking website. I'm telling you can't have like, photos from the 2000s with your white vignette and then like,
Oh, okay. Here's a question. If you don't have a question, I've got a
Yeah,
question.
no, go ahead.
All right. Do you edit or shoot in a different way to suit a client's request than what you currently...
Give me an example.
Okay, so you have a client that comes to you and they say, I'm getting
You're
married.
talking weddings, I'm assuming.
Yeah. You've got a client, they come to you. They want you to make all of their whole wedding look like the grass is dead and it's burnt and it's like browns everywhere and it's super that style of editing, whereas yours would be considered more clean. Would you go and actually do the editing that they've asked you to do? Or would you be like, no, this is my style, you get what you're given?
It's an excellent question.
Ooh.
I have literally turned down a booking, I think only like maybe twice in my whole career, but it's happened when I've had a meeting and they're like, so I remember one, I even remember where I met them. And, I was meeting them in person, they were talking to me and they really loved my work, but they showed me another photographer's editing and they preferred my photos, but they wanted me to shoot it like that, edit it like that. And I was like, well, that's not what I do. I can't do it. I'm sorry. And, like I can edit it like, what you see on my website is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And so we went away from that conversation and they were going to think about it. And then they came back to me and said, yeah, they really want to book me. But they were kind of stuck on that point with the editing. And I just said, I'm sorry, man, I'm not going to shoot your wedding. I recommended some other people. And the reason I said it, because I could have done it, I could have edited it like that. But the conversation, it's like a clue that if they want that, I'm just not going to risk shooting their wedding and then not being happy with what I've produced.
Oh, that's a good answer. That's an interesting thought there.
In my view, you're better off turning down something if you're not comfortable shooting with it, because if you shoot it and you don't deliver what they want, or the experience on a day is not what they want, and you get a bad review, that's a lot more damaging than losing $9,000.
Yes. Yeah, that's massive. I have definitely decided not to shoot maybe one or two weddings based on not gelling, because that's what I'd call it. Like, it's not that...
personality clashes and stuff.
And if the vision that they have for their wedding is not going to be something that I can realistically achieve for them, and I know that it's going to be a lot harder for me to shoot in that particular way or whatever to suit how they want their day to be documented, because it's not how I work, I'm not going to be a good fit for them. I actually have a spiel that I say every time I meet with couples. I was like, if you don't like the sound of my voice and I've like really made you uncomfortable here, you should not be booking me. Go find somebody you like.
Yeah.
Because I'm with them for the whole day and I'm not that like quiet fly on the wall in the corner kind of photographer. I'm invested in this day.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend every weekend in summer having a really shit time, not enjoying my day. But I want people to really enjoy having me there.
Yeah.
And if they don't like me, they're not going to enjoy it.
I say the same thing.
However, oh, do you? Literally?
It's literally the same thing.
Don't like the sound of my voice.
I don't say that, but I'm
okay,
like
something along those lines.
I like to meet everybody in person because if we, because we're going to be. This is my spiel, basically. I'm like, we're going to be hanging out all day, and if you're not comfortable with me as a person, and like you don't feel like we could get on as like mates, then I'd probably just recommend somebody else because this is your day and I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, whereas if you feel like we'd get on and we'd just have a good time, then I'm stoked.
Yeah. However, I can definitely make the grass look dead if you want it to look dead. Like, I will do that. I have this opinion that a wedding is very much a collaboration. It's a collaboration of what they want and what I see from their day coming together. And if somebody says to me, Hayley, I really hate the way that you've edited the sneak peeks. Can you please make them warmer or darker or lighter? I'm going to do that because I want them to be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If they came to me and told me I want you to shoot it like a magazine editorial before they booked me, I'd probably say go find this photographer because they're going to suit you better. However, if it's as simple as like fixing the editing to suit how they wanted their day to be seen, I'm going to do that because I want them to be happy, as opposed to that opinion of, no, this is my editing style and you're stuck with that opinion.
No, I'm not too worried about colours so much. Like, I'm happy to do that. But with this other couple, it was more like, they sent, some people sent you like their, what's it called, like a Pinterest board.
Yeah, I love
and
them.
Like, and the photos, the photos they sent me were fine, but they were like, all of them had off-camera flash.
No.
And the ones that didn't have off-camera flash had like the flash straight in the face.
No.
And they were like really posed.
That's really different.
Yeah, and like I'm fine. Like if you like that, great. I can recommend people, but
Yeah.
I don't do that.
No.
That's why that was the main issue. That's when I turn it down. If people are like, the grass is a bit green, can you like kill it a little bit? Fine.
Yeah, I have a Chris Turner preset that we named Kill the Grass. A Chris Turner base that we've named Kill the Grass. For all my couples that ask for that, because it was a very big trend for a while there.
The first presets I put out, the grass was a lot different. It's the ones I just released, the V3 ones recently, they're very way more colourful.
I like your newest ones because the green
that's
is
the
really,
V3.
really realistic. They're a little punchy for me, so I've like done my normal. You basically made like a punchier version of the tweaks that I made to your preset, but like everything's in a different place on the settings on it. Because the greens, I like the real greens.
Yeah.
The real Chris Turner greens.
Yeah. But, a lot of people struggle with pricing. And I want you to give someone tips. Say they want to shoot because think of this as like a sneak peek into your workshops. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've come to you and I wanted to get into like commercial headshots.
Yes.
And I don't know how to price it, like structure. Do you do like a starting base rate and then like, a price per headshot, or like what would you do? What would you tell somebody for like,
okay.
This is like free Hayley workshop.
Yeah, here you go. I would tell you, go buy our profitability crash course. No, I'm kidding. But actually,
link in the description.
What I was going to say, for commercial, it depends. If you want to be a company like Zahn, who you were talking to recently, I would go to somebody like that and speak to them, because their commercial way that they've structured their business and things like that is very different. And you do have people that will do an hourly rate plus GST, and that encompasses the shooting time, the driving time, the setup time, the editing time, and that's a very popular commercial rate. I think maybe for people that have been doing it quite a long time, a lot of people do that. I am very much a per image person. So first thing, you have to look at how much money you want to earn for the whole your whole turnover for the year, and then look at how many shoots you realistically can do, because at the end of the day, that's always what it's going to come down to. Before you build a package, you say how many photos are going to be included, or whether you charge per hour or per image. You have to know that total amount that you want to earn, right? Calculate how many jobs you can actually realistically do, separate that into your genres. So if you're going to do weddings and headshots, you're going to have 2 different ways to get to that total number in the middle. And you might, if you're already like Chris and you're established in weddings, you know how much you earn from your weddings and how much you want to earn from them and how many shoots are great. You've got that figure. How much more do you want to earn on top of that? There's your total turnover.
Yeah.
There's these headshots over here in the corner that you're going to then divide the total amount you want to earn for that genre by how many you can do. That gives you a figure that's an average sale goal. So you can build packages around that. You can say, I'm going to be like Hayley and I'm going to do per image rate. And you're going to have like a average sale goal of what, like maybe your average sale goal is 500 because that's easy. So maybe one image is 250. Your middle package might be 3 headshots and that might be 500. And then your top package might be whatever else, like 750 or something for like starting to move into branding.
Right. So you have like a package that includes a certain amount of images, not like a call out fee and then.
No, I take that into consideration when I created the pricing.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm looking at it in the sense.
That's a very easy way to do it, I think.
Yeah,
it's good.
One of the most simplest ways, because I've done a lot of online education. I've done a lot of work around pricing, which is why Ruth and I have literally built a course on pricing. This is one of the easiest ways that you can create a price list that serves your goals, which at the end of the day is what we actually want from our businesses. It's not like saying, oh, I think a headshot's worth $60 each.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shoot one person for $60. I'm really sorry, guys. There's so much admin and editing and marketing and everything that goes into it that I cannot run a business and do it at that rate. But I can say this is the minimum amount I want to leave my house for. This is the average sale that I need to get, and build a price structure around that and do it on the basis of averages.
Yeah, good. I like that.
Is that an answer to your question? I got really excited.
That's a good tip.
There.
That's a good tip. I like it.
And that goes for any genre, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely have a low. I think, I can't remember what it was, but I think when companies inquire with me, I really don't do anything unless it's like 500 plus GST, and then it's like the minimum, and then on top of that, whatever I'll do. But it's probably mostly because I just don't really do. I mean, like I did a shoot for Carter's the other day and stuff, but it's rare.
Yeah.
I don't advertise it. I don't have a commercial website or anything.
For the most part, I would say most of my jobs come in it's half and half weddings and anything that's not a wedding. And therefore I need that to make a certain amount of money, because I do have an editor, I do have an assistant. I'm also supporting those people in my business too. Yeah. And I definitely didn't want to run a business and not be able to pay my bills or something like that, or be like earning less than minimum wage for the amount of time that I'm doing. So
yeah, you have to take into account the cost of your accountants and all that as well.
Yeah. And I think when you're first starting out, it's really easy to say, okay, think of a turnover goal. But everyone's like, oh, okay, so turnover goal, I earn like 40K in my full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to earn 40K from my wedding photography job.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way, because you've got all of the costs of running a business, accountants you mentioned, insurance, gear.
Tax. A lot more tax.
Tax, so much tax, like upgrading your equipment, making sure you have backup equipment. Like you guys were talking about this on the podcast, and so we did with Brad in our episode too. Like you cannot just decide to start a business and say my one camera body and I'm going to go shoot like a 10-hour wedding and charge this much money. So you need to take those into consideration when making that turnover goal, which kind of speaks back to mindset and being afraid to ask for money, or the whole I don't need to earn that much because my husband earns this much, or whatever it might be, or my wife earns this much and therefore I don't need to earn that much. And looking at it, and this is the portion that needs to go back into the business. This is the portion that is a profit, and this is the portion I pay myself with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's been a lot of conversations about this whole thing since COVID happened, and everyone was like, oh shit, I need to refund people when I don't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a general conversation now, but I do see people, or I have people come to me that have been doing this for 10 years that are still not making money. They're still not paying their bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a confusing business. Did you think of your question?
No, that's a boring question. Chris Turner, what advice would you give to somebody who is starting out in a wedding photography and video business? Give us 3.
3 tips.
Yeah.
Shit.
They can be quick fire tips. 1 sentence each.
The first one is have a very reliable second person.
Ooh.
Someone that, if you're going to do photo and video, I've done it myself lots of times, and it's fine, but I have a lot of experience. If you are starting out, have a really good second shooter on photo only, and just so you can kind of still do photo, but you can put more time into your video, because there's like technical stuff with audio and all that kind of stuff. So that's the first one is make sure you have someone really reliable shooting with you. It's too much pressure when you're just starting out to do it by yourself. So pay somebody to do it and include that in your price.
Yes.
The second one is don't do everything in slow-mo, because it's fucking boring.
So wait. Do you have more to say on that?
On slow-mo?
Yeah. Like, are you talking don't record in slow-mo or
So
don't edit in slow-mo?
I'm saying this because I used to do this.
Okay.
So when I started doing films, it was all slow-mo with music.
Yes.
And it's just so fucking boring. You can't watch it. Like, I don't even record in slow-mo now. The only time I record slow motion is like sunset.
Yeah.
Or like a couple's session or something, like when we're doing like intimate video and photo, I'll record slow-mo. I don't often use it, but I like to have that option. But slow-mo with music is just really boring, and it's hard to watch, even if it's your wedding. But it's impossible to watch if you don't know the couple.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are watching a wedding film that you don't know the people and you can watch the whole thing, it's good.
Yeah.
But I used to do that a lot, and it's harder to do. It's more, you have to be more intentional with how you shoot, and you have to make sure you're stable, like at least your camera has like stabilization or whatever, and using audio as well. So the third one would be audio, and it's really not that difficult. It's daunting.
Yes.
Audio at the start when you don't know anything about it. But adding audio from the day just completely changes it. You can shoot it more like a documentary. So like I'll make sure, say I'm doing video only at a wedding. When I'm doing that, even the scratch audio, which we call scratch audio, is just the audio from the room. When you're from your camera, I'll make sure those levels are good, so I can like include people talking in the background and stuff, and then just use, like, it's quite easy to take someone aside, like a parent or a bride or groom, and just like ask them how they're feeling, ask them what's going on in their day, like, are they excited, what are they looking forward to, stuff like that, and like you can add those clips to like as like a what do you call it, like a catch at the start. Stuff like that is really easy to do, but not thought about. And it can be uncomfortable, I think, for people to ask those questions.
I love asking those questions.
Yeah. And it changes how you go about it. And in terms of audio in general, a good tip is the closer the audio source is to the microphone, the better it's going to sound, regardless of what if you're using a shotgun mic or a dynamic mic like these or a lapel mic, the closer it is to the audio source, the better it's going to sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that 3?
That's 3, yeah. I would say from my experience of when you very, very first start transitioning into shooting films, again, having somebody definitely to help you on the day, like have a second shooter, whether they're shooting the photos as a main or just in the position of a second shooter to help you to make sure that you still get all the shots that you need so that you're not dropping the ball on that part. Making sure your clients have a really good expectation of what they're actually going to receive, and don't go in saying, I'm going to make a 10-minute film or a 15-minute documentary film when you've never done video before, because you may not have enough usable footage to make that. That's actually... like, it's all probably usable, but is it really good quality that you'd want your name on it at the end of that film and putting it out there? And shooting at 50 frames per second, not 25. Because if you do fuck up and you do need to slow it down and make a boring, as per Chris says, film, 50 frames mean you can slow it down. 25 means you can't, basically.
Yeah, no, you can. There's nothing particularly wrong with shooting in 50 frames because you don't have to slow it down. It does depend on the camera you're using, though. Like some cameras, you go into like an extreme crop, or like Canons, you can't shoot the whole day in 50p, it'll overheat in these new ones. There's like
I'm sure I
caveats
make
to
them
that.
do that when they shoot for me. Like, I'm thinking of Julian right now, and he mentioned his camera's overheating.
Yeah, if you do 4K,
Yes.
50 all day, it'll overheat.
Oh, yeah, but you don't have to shoot in 4K when you're starting out.
No, you don't have
It's
to.
really awesome if you can, but if
Yeah.
your cameras don't actually do that, I don't think there's anything wrong with
No,
still
no.
shooting in 1080.
No, totally. I do everything in 4K, but I have the cameras to do it. Yeah, and like I said, all my early films were all slow-mo
Yeah.
with music, no audio or anything. And it's definitely a good way to learn. But same with like what you were saying, it's, you know, when I started offering films, I very much under-promised, you know. Like I was like, sure. It's like, I think I was saying like $1,500 or something for my first one as like an add-on. I was like I made it sound way worse than I knew it was going to be. I'm like, you know, it'll just be like slow-mo and like, you know, we'll put a nice song on it and stuff like that. Just a really basic little clips through the day. That's how I would sell it.
Yeah.
And I would try and deliver something that was like twice as good as that, but under-promising and over-delivering is massive.
Well, I think that's the same for even if you know like that you're confident in what you're doing with how many wedding photos you're going to include in a gallery.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to say in your invoice, I'm going to give you 400 photos, but you only deliver 300, then you're kind of in the shit. You can't do it. There's a whole Consumer Guarantees Act problem there. Yeah. But if you're going to say 200 plus because you feel confident you can create 200 good images that are worth showing your client, and then you give them 600, awesome. You just over-delivered on what you'd said you would, and the client's going to be amazingly happy.
Yeah.
The same thing with your films. Same thing with anything when you start out.
Yeah, so that's my tips on slow-mo.
Those are Chris Turner's 3 tips for starting out and adding video, because we really didn't talk about adding photo or like starting off in photo, but that's fine.
Yeah, no, basically my tip is just not be bad at it.
Not be bad at it.
Yeah, just do it better.
I have a tip though. Like if you're going to shoot a job, any job, and we talked about this in the latest episode that Ruth and I just released, but no matter what genre you shoot, I think it's really important that you have backup gear. And this kind of talks to whether you're starting out, whether you're already established, or whether you just second shoot for other people. Do not turn up to a job with one camera, or turn up to a job with something broken on your camera. Like you should be, if you think about it this way, if your reputation relies on you completing this job, which it does, and them getting a good service and experience from you, you should not be turning up with one piece of equipment and then hoping it doesn't break down on you, it doesn't overheat. There's so many stories about that kind of stuff going wrong. So if you are not at the stage where you own 2 cameras, just include in your pricing the cost of going in, like hiring one. Yeah. Or like you said, if you're going to experiment with doing video at a wedding, bring a second shooter, because they're the backup for the photos, or they're the backup for the film, so that you know that what you're capturing is going to be deliverable.
Yeah, if I have a second shooter that's doing like the boys getting ready in the morning, I won't use somebody that doesn't have 2 cameras.
No, I know, me either.
Yeah, like if I absolutely have to, fine, but like I would not pick somebody that only had one body.
I think it's also really important that if you're putting your hand up to do these jobs for other photographers, like you're saying, I'm available to second shoot, or I'm available to shoot a wedding as an associate for you, you should not be putting your hand up if you do not have the gear to realistically complete that job.
Yeah.
That's really, really key. And I have had experiences where people have said that they can do it and they really shouldn't be putting themselves out there for that without going and grabbing the backup gear and stuff. Like just hire it, borrow it from a friend, whatever, but make sure you've got the gear to complete the job that you're saying you're going to, because reputation is key, word of mouth is key. It's going to make a big difference. So
I agree.
Massive for people that are starting out, right?
Yeah.
I do have a question that follows on from that before we wrap up though, Chris. Okay. Do you have contracts with your second shooters?
No.
No. Should you? I guess it depends who you use.
I heard you guys talking about it.
Yeah.
Should I? I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
Like legally, I guess. But A, I'm not going to use somebody that I don't know.
Yes.
And B, you know what the job is.
Yeah.
So do it right.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around. Just do a good job. I rarely second shoot, but like I show some of my friends sometimes and I shoot it as if it was my own wedding.
Yeah.
And I expect the same, you know, like put the effort in. And I don't know. Contracts, I think it's good legally, but I just don't think I'm going to have a problem.
If there's a quote or an invoice involved, that is kind of like a contract, because it is seen as a sales contract. You are agreeing to pay this or to be paid this for whatever. So that kind of comes into it too. But there is an expectation as a contractor, because that's effectively what you are. Like if I was contracted to build a house and I fucked up the house, well, that's on me, isn't it? I'm going to have to pay for those repairs. So it's the same thing with going and second shooting for somebody. If you screw up on the day or you aren't prepared, therefore it is going to impact you. You can't just be like, sorry, it wasn't my wedding job, bye, because it's not going to end up like that. Yeah,
and I think it comes down to, like I said, using people that I know anyways. Like the only people I use are professionals. So I know I'm not going to have an issue with like reliability or like gear.
Yes.
Because I know what they use. But if I have a second shooter and they come along and like, it's never happened, but if they lose the images, you're not going to get paid at all. And when I'm shooting on the day, I'm often shooting, like if I have a second shooter all day, I could lose their shit and still be fine with the way I shoot, other than the boys getting ready. So I still put a lot of that pressure on myself anyways. Like I'm never using second shooters to do stuff that I should be doing and that I can't deliver.
Yeah.
You know?
I think one of the main things, like for me, if I have a second shooter and it is purely photo only, because most of the time there's two of us, it's always a video. So if I was to have a second shooter and it was photo only, which really does happen quite rarely for me now, it is usually photo and video and there's 2 or 3 of us. But if it is going to be photo only, they're really only responsible for shooting the guy's prep, and everything else I'm going to have photos of anyway, like you said. Yeah, so there
I don't need the second angle. Like it's nice to have.
It's nice to have it during a ceremony, but it's not necessarily needed. I'm still going to deliver just as many photos either way. I'm just going to have less to pick from effectively. And most people, like most professionals, are not going to come to a job for an hour or 2. Like they're going to want to be there for 6 to 9 hours of the day. Yeah. Otherwise, it's not worth them leaving their house. So.
Yeah.
Good.
Sweet.
Done.
Good podcast.
We talked a lot. That was so much.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up, Hayley.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my cameras just shut down. I think the memory card ran out.
That is good timing. I hope the other angle's nice for the end of this, because I'm pretty sure
it's you.
It is me, I think. I'm pretty sure the noise came from next to me.
Yeah.
Awkward.
But yeah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And I'll put all your links in the description. And
Thanks for having me. It was great.
We can do the live music outro. You ready?
Do it. Please don't make those noises. All the guys just do that back to you, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Are you not going to take part in that?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right. There's just some things that guys can say that girls can't.
Yeah.
My headphones keep falling off my head.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast.